The Hawkeye women roll as they dominate Penn State and punch their ticket into the Big Ten semifinals. An instant reaction and a huge opportunity for the Iowa men. What a win against Illinois for due for their NCAA tournament chances. All today, Locked On Hawkeyes.
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome in. I'm Trent Condon, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. You can find us wherever you find podcasts, and you can find us on YouTube. Watch us there. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Helps us get in front of more Hawkeye fans. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. Well, a dominating performance tonight from the Iowa women as they roll past Penn State and punch their ticket into the semifinals on a day where the number one seed, the Ohio State Buckeyes, go down at the hands of the Maryland Terrapins. Late tonight, Indiana falls and gives up a big lead against Michigan. Even the number 4 seed, Michigan State, falls to 5th seeded Michigan State, falling to Nebraska. The Hawkeyes found a way. We will get into that one. But we open up today talking about the Iowa men and the opportunity that is in front of them coming up with the Sunday matchup as they'll face off against Illinois. Now, we certainly know the Illini are an incredibly talented team. We saw this game not too long ago over in Champaign. And though Iowa had plenty of opportunities, we know that one bad run can certainly do this team in, and that's what Illinois can do on you. You look back upon that game, kind of what we saw in that matchup going there. Iowa had opportunities, especially in the second half. Brad Underwood, not happy with this team. He benched basically everybody, all of his starters at one point, and Iowa couldn't stretch out the lead. Led by 7 with about 10 minutes to go, and felt like that 7-8 point lead just dissipated so very quickly in that one. You know, the biggest concern when you're going up against Illinois every single time is really what you get from Terrence Shannon. And he was not great in that game. In fact, you look at Terrence Shannon, what he has done here recently, outside of the game the last time out against Purdue, he had scored 23 more points in 6 of his last 7 games. The only time he didn't was against Iowa. He normally gets his, and he didn't in that game. And you got to find a way to cover them up. And that means it's going to be a lot of Tony Perkins, making it difficult on him. Peyton Sanford. It's going to be all hands on deck. Josh Dix doing his thing. Everybody's going to have to be able to go out there and play at a high level. And the 95-85 final doesn't tell the story of that game. Obviously, if you watched it, you know what an opportunity there was for Iowa, and that does not paint a picture of how Iowa played that game. They played well and definitely had opportunities to pull out the victory. And now, the importance of this cannot be overstated. So, when we go through and we look at this squad, and these are just numbers. They're just numbers that are analytic and tell what it would do for Iowa's chances of making the NCAA tournament. They continue to go up, more and more lists, more and more opportunities. People seeing them be an NCAA tournament team. Bring up Bracket Matrix quite a bit. Really fun website. And it's very simple. It takes 113 bracketologists. That's right. 113 of these guys that put their bracketology lists out there and then tells you who would be in the tournament when you just put them all together and average them up. So Iowa currently is the 5th team out at Bracket Matrix. In fact, earlier this week, there were 13 bracketologists that had Iowa in the tournament in their latest updated version of their brackets. It's down to 10 as we sit here late on Friday night. So that has gone down. We have to remember it's not in a vacuum. And then I think this point is something that needs to be repeated. We just always talk about what Iowa needs to do. What do the Hawkeyes need to do to make the NCAA tournament? Is it 2 more wins? Is it 3 more wins? Can they lose to Illinois? What do they still have to do in the Big Ten tournament in order to get there? And those are all fair questions and conversation pieces. However, it's not just about Iowa. There are other teams around the country that are also playing. And because of that, it's a very fluid situation. So that's one thing that we remember. Look, Iowa can win this game Sunday against Illinois, win a couple of games in the Big Ten tournament. And if we get a freaky weekend. We get a lot of bid thieves that happen. We get a lot of other bubble teams that are winning big games, maybe a bubble team that wins a conference tournament championship. All those things happen. Iowa still very well could be on the outside looking in. The margin for error is so razor thin. And because it's not just about Iowa, that's one thing that we definitely have to understand. But I got some numbers for you. I think these are interesting and what a win would do. So right now, currently, over at Bart Torvik, an analytic-based website, Iowa currently, in his metrics, has a 29.5% chance of making the NCAA tournament. All right. 3 out of 10. You kind of see that. You play the season out from here the rest of the way, and they make it about 3 out of 10 times. Yeah, I think we can say that. I think that's safe. Now, what it does, though, with just a win against Illinois, without knowing what happens in the Big Ten tournament, Iowa's chances go from 29.5% chance of making the tournament right now. A win against Illinois raises those odds over 60%, 62.6%, in fact, according to Bart Torvik's metrics. Beat Illinois, lose to Maryland in the first game. A lot of people say, well, an Illinois win, that's going to be enough. No, it's not. It drops down to 43% chance of making the tournament if that happens. Iowa wins the first game, wins on Sunday against Illinois, loses their first game in the Big Ten tournament. Those odds drop from 62% down to 43. Beat Illinois on Sunday, beat Maryland, and then lose to Nebraska. That's who you likely face in the semifinals. You're still at 62%. In fact, a tick higher at 62.7% if you play out that way. Now, you lose to Illinois, your percentages drop from 29% right now down to 26%, again, before the Big Ten tournament. Lose to Illinois, beat Minnesota, then lose to Illinois again in the Big Ten tournament. You're at 29%. Lose to Illinois on Sunday, beat Nebraska, beat Illinois for a second time, and then lose to Nebraska in the semifinals. It's only 54%. I think what this shows more than anything is just how important this game is. You win this one, it's not over. You still have more to do. I maintain the 2 wins gets them in the tournament. If they can find 2 more victories the rest of the season, I think that'll be enough to push them over the edge and at minimum get them to Dayton. And that's another thing you're playing for too, is staying away from Dayton and the playing round. Have the opportunity to be in the main bracket. Iowa went out there in the first NCAA tournament for Freya McCaffrey, lost an overtime game to Tennessee, and a very frustrating loss. Iowa had opportunity to put that one away, and eventually couldn't happen against the Vols. And then on top of it, the way that bracket broke, they got a 6 seed in UMass that was overseeded after Tennessee dispatched them. Who was waiting? Not the number 3 seed, the Duke Blue Devils that year. No, it was the Mercer Bears. The bracket opened up. Iowa wasn't there, though, to take advantage. Get in. Anything could happen. And it would be a little bit wild if this was the team that actually finally got Fran McCaffrey for the first time in his career to the second weekend. He's won plenty of games in the NCAA tournament. He's been able to get to the round of 32, but he hasn't been able to get to the second weekend. He did it at Siena. He's done it at Iowa. And if this would be the team, as bad as they looked, it would be absolutely wild. But there's still work. And the work starts on Sunday. That will increase their odds so much of getting it done. What's it going to take to beat Illinois? We'll talk about that a little bit. And your reaction to what happened on the hardwood tonight as Iowa gets the victory. We got a little baseball, some wrestling to talk about, and a whole lot more. It's a busy one, a weekend preview edition here of Locked On Hawkeyes. Fire TV is your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as Fire TV Stick. You can just plug into your existing TV, and it's going to provide access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball, the college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have a Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels. They deliver constant supplies of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us here on Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive in to all the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on the latest in the world of sports. March Madness, NBA, MLB, and a whole lot more. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit Amazon.com/Locked On Fire TV. Trent kind of back with you here on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. So, couple of things. Let's start with the matchup against Illinois. Coleman Hawkins was a stud the last time out. So, you got to keep Owen Freeman out of foul trouble. He cannot afford to be on the bench as he is through a lot of games, right? He's got to stay out of foul trouble. We know Ben Krikke defensively, that is not his strength. And though Iowa has evolved a little bit offensively past him, not running as much as the offense. We know he's a skilled offensive player, really good with that long jumper, the 16 to 18-foot jump shot. That's something that's been his bread and butter throughout his Iowa career and going back to his days at Valparaiso. But keeping those guys out there, probably going to have to pack the paint. We mentioned about what's it going to take against Terrence Shannon. And the other part about the game, when you go back, Harmon had 12 in the game. Moretti, who hadn't done anything seemingly all season long, he had 9 points in that game, a couple of dagger three-pointers as Illinois was coming back into the game. Hawkins had 30 points the first time out. I mean, you have to slow him down and can't allow him to get to that kind of level, because if that happens, I was going to be in deep trouble again. We know there's going to be plenty of Illini fans that are also going to be there, and yes, they're annoying and they wear their stupid orange and all that, but hopefully we don't see some of the invasions we've seen in the past with Illinois fans. And, Patrick McCaffrey said it. The attendance has been poor for basketball. It's not anything that we haven't seen. It would be great to see this group go out with a great home environment after what we saw with women's basketball this year, what we've seen throughout not just this season, but seemingly every single time with the Iowa wrestling program. To see Carver Hawkeye rocking for the men's team would just be a great, great thing to send this group off. Illinois comes in. They're elite offensively. They're fourth in the country. Not great on the defensive end. It's probably going to be another end-to-end game. A first one to 100. I mean, we're going to go back to the Iowa versus Flying Illini days of the late 80s and into the 90s and some of the great matchups there where you can really get Illinois on the defensive end. They don't steal. Well, Iowa doesn't turn it over. That is a huge component there. And you can make three-pointers against this team. And I do wonder the way that they at times pack it in, kind of the defense that they run. We haven't seen Iowa hit a ton of three-pointers in this game, but Illinois, if they're going to make a concerted effort to take away the mid-range game from Iowa. It's a dying art in basketball, the mid-range game. You just don't see many people do it. You see offensive systems that are set up to either take three-pointers or get to the rim. And if Illinois is going to come in with an idea to do that, I think that's going to be maybe part of the game plan that Underwood has here. Josh Dix has been so good at it. Obviously, Tony Perkins, who had a monster performance a year ago against Illinois in the win in Carver Hawkeye Arena, one of the big wins that helped get Iowa into the NCAA tournament a year ago was that one. So we'll see what the game plan is for Illinois, but that'd be definitely a component I'd be looking for. Let's get into the Iowa women and their victory against Penn State up in Minneapolis. See the people in line at 9:30 for a 5:30 tip. Kudos to you. You guys are crazy. Why they went general admission at the Target Center, I have no idea. I don't understand what the thought process and the justification was behind it, but they did it and probably going to be second guessing themselves again. The good news for Iowa, though, what a rough one in the Big Ten for the top seeds. Outside of Iowa, number one starts off the day as Ohio State goes down. After Iowa ran them out of the gym and got the victory on Sunday, Maryland, they were just the better team. It was crazy because we've seen Maryland this season. We know talent on its own is not a problem. It hasn't completely clicked for this team. And it did. Sellers, she was outstanding in the game. She had 25 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists. And Ohio State never could get it going. 6 of 22 from 3 in the game. They shoot 35% from the floor. Maryland wins on the boards 44-21, out-rebounding the Buckeyes in that one. Then we go to the afternoon session. Nebraska, the number 5 seed, beats 4th seeded Michigan State there and did it in convincing fashion, winning it by a dozen, started to stretch it out in the second quarter, really ran away in the third, got the victory. We'll get to the Iowa game in a moment. And then the nightcap, no Mackenzie Holmes. We knew, and we talked about it this week here on Locked On Hawkeyes, every day as you knew this. Mackenzie Holmes eventually did not play. And after getting out to a good lead, Indiana led it at double digits, but a comeback in a 29-point fourth quarter. Michigan had 40 points through 3 quarters. and they scored 29 in the fourth to get the victory 69-56. That sets up a matchup in the semifinals with the Hawkeyes and the Wolverines. That'll be a 3:30 tip on Big Ten Network tomorrow. 3:30 afternoon tip after the Maryland-Nebraska game will be game one in that one. We've talked about some of the good stories and the good things, and not just watching Caitlin Clark, and it's fun to do, but on a night where Caitlin doesn't hit any of her first 11 attempts from behind the three-point arc. In a game like that, I was still able to dominate against a good, not a great Penn State team. I mean, they're a bubble team. This isn't a wonderful Penn State team, but to be able to beat a team like that by 33, when Caitlin misses her first 11 three-pointers of the game, finishes the game 5 of 17 from the floor. Now she gets, or 5 of 19, from the floor. She gets to the free throw line 13 times, makes 12 of them. She has 10 rebounds. She has 7 assists in the game. I mean, she's doing Caitlin things, but the shot's not there, and her teammates pick her up. And these are the things that need to happen for this squad. If I was going to make a big run come March, they're going to need everybody else to be able to chip in. Now, there's going to be opportunities and likely going to be games where Caitlin just throws a team on her back and away we go. When the shot's fallen, she's feeling good. There's still going to be those moments more than likely here throughout the course of the rest of the season. But when you see everybody else stepping up in a certain way, Gabby Marshall scoring 15 points in the game. We've seen Gabby be better, and we've seen the shots starting to fall. And this is what it's been before really the concern started. And after the Illinois game and that Sunday win a couple of weeks ago, she has gone now 4 of 7, 4 of 7, and 4 of 7 from 3. Yeah, that'll play. We'll take a whole lot of that. Sydda Falter makes her 4th career start in the game, has a career high 18 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists as well for Sydney Falter. We talked about how this team is built a little bit differently. She's a better defender. She's a bigger body. She's a great rebounder at her size. And if she's knocking down shots as she did in this one, 3 of 4 from behind the arc, whew, look out on that one. Kate Martin didn't shoot it well, but she's the glue. As you saw between the first and second period, my buddy Rusted's sister was the one that had the glue sign for Kate Martin. Shout out there to the Rusted family. Even Kate didn't shoot it well from the outside. You know, she just does so many other things. Feuerbach with the 3, Taylor McCabe with 4 3-pointers as she got more playing time in the second half. O'Grady got in there. Got to see a little Edinger late, even Jimphy and Goodman. Got to see all of them out there and playing. Look, these are the things that need to happen for them. And the path is wide open. Iowa should, I hate to say it, cruise to a Big Ten championship. Hope you jumped aboard with me when we talked about that earlier in the week when Iowa was plus 130 to win this tournament. I love the bracket. I love the way that it's set up with the injuries to Indiana. Don't even have the opportunity to avenge that loss. But now with the chance to beat up Michigan, man, that's going to be a likely scenario again. Whoever it is between Maryland and in the championship game in Nebraska, you feel great about the opportunity in that one. If it is Nebraska, and I think I'm hoping I'm not alone, that'll be the Huskers waiting there after what happened in Lincoln here a few weeks back and get another shot against them. And then you got a week to get right. I mean, you got an opportunity to get off your feet. We'll see about Molly Davis and what her availability is going to be for the NCAA tournament. If it isn't for the first round or two, if she's back for a Sweet 16 run, those kind of things. And the other part, I was playing now for a number 1 seed. And though they won't have the same kind of opportunities for quality victories, you had a Big Ten tournament championship. For what they've already done this season, you look at the metrics, you look at the numbers, you look at the quad 1 wins, you look at all these different things, and they stack up incredibly well for this Iowa team in comparison to what's kind of happening across the country. And because of that, there's a real opportunity here. Late night tonight, it was USC getting the win against UCLA in overtime. Does that push UCLA down likely to a 2? I think so. The path is there. I think you root against Texas in the Big 12. Maybe you root for UConn to get knocked off in the Big East. It's going to be tough to do, but that's kind of what you're looking for there. South Carolina, we know, is going to be a 1 seed. I think Stanford is in really good shape. If you can get up, though, to that number 3 overall seed, what does that mean? It means you stay away from South Carolina for as long as possible. Yes, Iowa beat them a year ago. It took a ridiculous game plan, a ridiculous game from Caitlin Clark, and just enough moxie to pull that one off in the first game of the Final Four. To do it 2 years in a row, though, let's wait as long as possible. How about that? Let's wait as long as possible for that to happen. And if you do get the number 3 seed, that means staying on the other side of the bracket. You get the number 2 overall seed, likely Stanford, in the Final Four. We're way ahead of ourselves, but that's what you're playing for here. And I think a chance is there for the Hawkeyes to do just that. The weekend ahead, we talked about the matchup for what happens in the Iowa men and how important that one is. We'll look at the baseball team, the wrestling team, and the Hawkeye Collective. Iowa Swarm, hoo-hoo, they got a chance to make a little more money. We'll tell you more about that as we continue. This is Locked On Hawkeyes. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. As a small business owner, LinkedIn Jobs has helped me a couple of different times. When I'm looking for somebody to help me out with a specific project, finding somebody that's going to be able to help out, come in, do those kind of things, they help you find quality candidates to interview, and it's super easy to find those right people. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals. It makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all that while making the process super easy for you. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats, you might not have the time or the resources to hire. Look, with my company, I do not have an HR department. LinkedIn Jobs makes it incredibly simple to do. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process even easier. They even just launched this feature. It's going to help you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Again, that's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Trent kind of back with you one final time on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. A little potpourri here. We'll get the wrestling team out at Maryland. They will get it going. We talked about the seeding process earlier in the week. Drake Ayala, what was happening there with the pre-seeds, some chicanery perhaps up. Iowa, qualify everybody. Let's get everybody there to the NCAAs and let's chase the team trophy. It's not what we want as Iowa wrestling fans. You're always talking about national championships and that reality. Let's see Riel Wood, speaking of that, get back to 100% and wrestling at his highest level. He's the number 3 seed. Really what I'm going to be keeping an eye on coming up this weekend at the Big Ten tournament with Maryland. Baseball team. They were up 4-0 against Jacksonville State, a series that at minimum they have to win. A sweep would be huge. Get a road sweep, that would be really good for the resume right now. Now, the slow start, the bullpen issues, but with the suspended game, that means that you're going to have to go into that bullpen right away, even with a 4-0 lead. Then after that, 2 more games still in front of them. Then on top of it, you have the midweek game that is on Tuesday against Georgia. That Georgia team that's off to a really good start. Georgia has not played the most difficult of schedules. Still, it's an SEC team off to a good start. That can be a quality resume building victory if Iowa can find a way. Still a lot ahead of them. I'm not out on this season by any way. Preseason top 25, are they going to live up to that? It's going to be difficult, but this week here and these next 3.5 games, if you will, the importance of them, if I was going to be at minimum a team that can fight to be in the NCAA tournament as an at-large team and do it without winning the Big Ten tournament, this week, these 3.5 games are going to go a long, long way to make that happen. Well, I'm going to be on a bit of a trip, taking a trip with the family, heading down to St. Louis for a couple of days, but I'll still be with you probably from a hotel room on Sunday night after the Iowa-Illinois games. Just so looking forward to that one and an opportunity for this Iowa men's team. Likely going to be culminating on the women's side with the Big Ten championship. I think I hate to say a cinch. There's no such thing as a lock. This feels pretty good for the Iowa women. And we'll see what happens as well on the wrestling, the baseball front. We got you covered. Your team every day. We do it on the Hawkeyes, not just here with the Hawkeyes, though. Your favorite Major League Baseball team, as we are now inside of a month until opening day for Major League Baseball. We got you covered there. You're an NFL fan, the NFL draft, your favorite team, we got you covered there. NBA, NHL, your team every day. That's what we do here across the Locked On Network. Also want to let you know, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now it's here and available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV Channels app. Have a great weekend. Great talking with you. We'll do it again on Monday, recapping the weekend that was, and hopefully a lot of big victories for the Iowa Hawkeyes. We'll talk to you again then. Go Hawks.